Let's take a look at the latest from Nova engines. They have been releasing extremely good capable race engines in both the on-road and the off-road racing scene for the last 2 or 3 years now, and this is the latest model from them. It is a collaboration between Nova Engines and Burak Kilic, specially tuned to suit his preferences. They call this the Burak Kilic Edition, in short BK27. There will only be 270 pieces of this produced by Nova, and over here for every single piece we have got the serial number marked on all the crankcases and the boxes. So let's take a look at what goes in there. That's the usual box from Nova. Okay, and over here we have got a couple of pieces of paper. First, instruction manuals, the whereabouts from Nova, where to reach them if you need any help. And here, this is the quality control certificate. So this is something that Nova has been doing for the past year or so. They'll check, hand assemble every single piece, run them through certain tests, and record all the details that the specific engine has on cards like this. The previous models were all handwritten, but this seems to be dedicated printed one for every single piece. I believe that is signed off by Marco Rossi. That's one of the lead engineers from Nova. So this very unit that we have just opened up is number 29 out of 270. Let's take a look at the box. Okay, so here's how it comes in. The engine itself, just as we mentioned, serial number on the crankcase for every single unit. And we have something else here. This is the carburetor with the included sealing ring. This comes standard on the BK27 but not on the rest of the engines. Okay, I'll take a look at this later. We also have shims for 25% nitro. That is something that we always use, at least in this part of the world for us, because we have direct access to 25% nitro fuel. Okay, the engine itself. Let's take a look at it. Very nice machining. The new heatsink looks extremely beautiful as well. Very nice polished finish. Okay, let's just go through this in detail. Alright, for the BK27, it comes with a new special turbo backplate. The standard Nova engines comes with just a standard backplate, and over the years they have released this version called a turbo backplate that is supposed to increase both torque and a bit of the high end overall. But this very backplate that comes on the Burak Kilic Edition is an improved version of the turbo backplate. It has a special coating on it, I believe, which is supposed to reduce friction as well as extend the lifespan of the backplate. I'll take this out later. Let's just see everything else. DLC crankshaft. Yeah. Okay, the new versions, or rather all the new release from Nova engines since November 2025 does not include a glow plug. This is due to the ever increasing cost of raw materials which is used in glow plug manufacturing. It's gotten to be extremely expensive, so Nova, instead of increasing the price of the engine, they have decided it will be easier to just leave out the glow plug, and we'll have to put that across to the consumers that it is not included. So please get yourself a glow plug when you get this engine or any other Nova engines from November 2025 onwards. Okay, let's take this apart to see what it does. Hang on, let's just remove the back plate. We'll loosen this up. Let me just get a piece of paper towel. Okay, here we go. A fresh clean please, to make sure there's no contamination going on. So before we pull out the back plate for any of the engines, we want to make sure that the piston is not at bottom dead center. So we want to move it somewhere upwards. So you can see the piston in the exhaust port. We want to make sure that the piston is somewhere up, away from bottom dead center before we start to loosen the back plate. So the usual way I'll loosen the back plate is to just give it a slight twist. This is a bit tough. Let's just do it gently. Okay, so now you can see I'll just wiggle the thing free before I start pulling it out. Here we go. Okay. This is the new, or rather the special version of the turbo backplate that I've been talking about earlier. So the turbo backplate comes with a few additional ports here, 3 basically, 2 which comes up to the top and 1 right in the center. So this is supposed to channel pressurized, I would say, fuel up in a certain way, which Nova has tested that it seems to work extremely well for them. I'm not an engine expert myself, so I'll leave the tag to the Nova guys. Okay, inside the engine, very nice clean details. Okay, let's pop the heatsink off to see what we have in there. I want to make sure that I do not scratch this heatsink, because I do not think this heatsink is for sale separately. So when we free up the heatsink, we want to just free them up in a cross pattern. Okay, there we go. So let's loosen all the 4 screws that are holding it down. Once all of them are done, just lift this up. Okay, I want to keep the screws on so that I do not lose them anywhere. That's the head button. Very clean machining. Okay, here's the cylinder and the piston in there. As expected, when everything is brand new, it should all be clean, well finished. We just want to check to make sure there's 0 debris in there before we fire up any nitro engine at all. This looks good. Let's try to get the piston out. Okay, just this. Yes, this sleeve comes off relatively easily. go. And before you remove the piston, just make sure we have something soft in case the piston is dropped. We do not want the piston or the sleeve to hit anything hard at all. Okay, there's the crankshaft. Give it a tap. Ceramic ball bearings, front and rear. This is a common standard across the new X3B and the X5B series. Set this aside. For the sleeve, the pottings are extremely clean, very sharp angles. Yep, quality is what we expect from Nova. The lines that you see in there are just reflection from the background that I have here. Those are not scratches by any means. From my angle, everything is clean and smooth. So some of the key things that are different from the standard X3B, on this Burak Kilic Edition, we have been notified there is a lightened piston that is only available on the BK27. Look at this cutout. What is it supposed to do? It's supposed to increase torque, increase overall power with a lighter, I would say, piston, as well as a lightened conrod. This is a lightened conrod, not the standard one that comes with the X3B and the X5B. So with a lighter combination of both the piston and the conrod, Nova is able to achieve much better response throughout the entire power band for this engine. And from what I understand, this is exactly what Burak Kilic prefers in his engine. Yep, zero free play. Yes, that is to be expected. Let's check the crankshaft. DLC crankshaft. This has a different timing from the standard X3B as well. Yep. Extremely good fit with pretty much zero free play. Okay, so these are the internals of this engine. I'll go ahead, put it back. Hang on a minute. Alright, there's something else that I need to talk about. The carburetor. Let me just open this up. Okay, on the Burak Kilic Edition, we've got this blue seal ring for the cup boot and something else in here. Just pull this cap off. Look at that. So over here we have a 7.0 millimeters low profile venturi anodized in Burak Kilic blue. This is normally only available as an upgrade part, or rather an optional part from Nova engines in the regular silver edition, or rather the silver versions. Only this BK27, I think they've color coded everything to Burak's signature color, which is the electric blue that you see over here. Yep, everything looks good. So I'll go ahead, put everything back with the necessary shims, because we are preparing this for a customer. Over here we use 25% nitro. Nova Engines has provided this shim just for that. Here we go. And just be extremely careful with this. I do not want to bend the shim at all. Okay. Alright, in goes the crankshaft. And the piston. Extremely careful and gentle when dealing with the piston and sleeve. Hang on a minute. Okay. Bring it down to the bottom. And when I put the sleeve back in, I want to make sure it goes in straight. So it should slide in properly straight. I'll bring it in halfway. I do not want to depress it all the way. I want to raise the piston into the sleeve. So just give me a minute here. So watch how I do it. I support the piston from the bottom. And once the piston goes into the sleeve, I'll bring it up a bit further with the crankshaft. And now I will slide the sleeve in all the way until the alignment notch here lines up. It should go in straight. Yeah, that's what we are doing here. Okay, so once this is on with the shim in place, and make sure it doesn't drop out. Well, my preference is to have the Nova logo facing the front. So that's what we do here. Earlier on we mentioned that we want to raise the piston away from the bottom dead center whenever we are dealing with backplates. This is the reason. If the piston is anywhere near the bottom position, you see the skirt, the bottom of the piston skirt. This comes into the area which will interfere with the backplate. This slot over here is for the piston skirt to slide. So we want to raise the piston to clear the area before we put the backplate in. So again, like the cylinder for the backplate, I want to make sure it goes in relatively straight. Okay. So my own habit, I want to tighten up the screws for the backplate before I proceed on to the heatsink. Again, I want to tighten everything up in the crosshatch pattern just to make sure that we are not stressing the parts in any weird angle. Snug enough will be good for here. And now the heatsink goes back on. This is the orientation for the heatsink. You notice we've got this, I'm not sure whether it shows up in the camera. We've got some cooling slots from this angle and from this angle. So we want it to be in the direction of where the car is heading. So air can come in through the cooling ports from front to back. That provides additional cooling for the heatsink. again. We do not want to scratch the heatsink. Okay, snug them up, cross hatch. Okay, so before we run the engine, just for protection's sake, I want to make sure that everything is properly covered, so we do not introduce any foreign materials into the engine without us knowing at all. That can be potentially dangerous. Okay, so I'll have this engine prepared for a customer. He should be extremely happy with this version of the XP3, the BK27 edition.